I'd like each of you to ask yourself a few questions this morning. Or I'll ask the questions. I guess it'd be easier since, I have a microphone and everything. For the last 3 days, I'd ask longer than that, but some of us have some memory challenges. I know I do, and 3 days might be quite enough time to try to consider. In the last 3 days, what have you created that is new or different or that has enhanced your life or the life of someone else? In the last 3 days, how many times have you stepped out of your comfort zone and done something you're not particularly comfortable with or used to doing? And if the answer to both of those questions is 0, then I'm going to ask, why not? Every one of us comes into this world with the freedom of creativity, the freedom to experience joy, the freedom to experience spirit, the freedom to experience love, and the freedom to transcend the conditioning and molding that society tries to wrap us into. You might ponder those questions over the next 3 days, because there is so much in life to experience, to just sit on our bottoms and do the same old, same old. Seems like a huge waste of time. Or maybe not. And so it is.
I was so angry with the producer at this radio show called Inspiration Today or something like that. They said, David, we're interviewing you next week about your book, and we'd like to have our authors, we request that they write a little inspirational something for our listeners. Can you have that to us in 3 days? And I thought, do you know how hard it is to write? And I'm in the middle of a book tour, and it's not going well. And of course I said yes. And just had this, I don't have time. This is hard to do. All of these thoughts, and I realized this is not really a great place to write something inspirational from. These are not very good stories. But this is what came to me. Mind your stories. Question them often. Nourish those that serve. Change those that do not. Far easier said than done, yes? For many of our darker stories have cut grooves in the primordial stone of our psyches. And the river of mind all too easily turns back into these dark and shadowy valleys. So mind also your story about changing your story. Be quick to forgive both yourself and your world, should the story be slow to change. Mind your stories. Know them for what they are. For more than it is through your wild circumstances, it is instead through your stories that you might find health, prosperity, and happiness. Mind your stories about health, about what is sickness, wellness, and suffering. For it is not your suffering, but your stories about suffering that makes pain either bearable or burdensome. Mind your stories about prosperity, about what is enough. For it is not your desire, but your stories about desire that leaves you either full or wanting. If you find yourself succumbing to envy, surround yourself with the impoverished. If you find yourself succumbing to anger, pride, or vanity, surround yourself with those who are kind, gentle, and wise. Do these things and you may learn the deeper meaning of prosperity. Mind your stories about happiness, about what will and will not bring you joy. Be wary of striving for happiness. It would be like striving to grow a garden of flowers. You can only do this. Find a sunny place for the soul. Prepare the soil of your destiny. Water the seeds of what might be. Tend to the weeds of shadowy stories, and then perhaps the rose will bloom all bright and shining, but you can never force her to do so. And beyond health, prosperity, and happiness, mind your larger story. Mind your story about your place in our cosmos. That sounds really good.
Echo.
All right. I'll keep going. All right. Sorry. And beyond health, prosperity, and happiness, mind your larger story. Mind your story about your place in our cosmos. Know that along with all the beings of the web of life, you too are a child of the infinite. That great mysterious process that worked patiently for billions of years to bring forth into being your tiny but delightful sacred sparkle of stardust. And finally, mind your contributions to our larger story. Ponder your place in the possibility that we are growing beyond both the story of gods and goddesses serving or stymieing us, and the old scientific story of a decaying and meaningless universe, to a new story of the infinite, a planetary story of a mysteriously creative universe. Know that we each have a place in the birth of this emerging story, and that yours is a vital role as midwife. For it is through our new story that we can awaken together to a deeper communion with Earth. Know and love our place within her web of life. Rejoice in her and share in her bounty. And we do so with gratitude, respect, and humility. For we know that while we have learned much, there is still much to learn as our planetary story awakens within our holy universe.
David, thank you very much. I'm going to just go a little bit. Will you tell everyone the title of your book and how they might get it?
Sure. It's called The Holy Universe. At least that's the latest title. And I guess if you're curious, you can talk with me after the church. I'll be here.
Okay, all right, thank you. I started reading it. My left eye with the cataract on it makes reading almost impossible for me. I'm up to like page 60, but it is very different and very cool. And it's in two persons, then one person's on the left side of the page, one person's on the right side. It's great. So anyway, thank you, David. And I am so happy to see Kelly back from the land of the diseased. Welcome home. I've got some announcements today. Let's talk about Wednesday evening. Right here, 7 o'clock discussion. Okay.
This past week was great.
What's that?
This past week was good.
Good. Okay. Thursday morning. That'd be coming up this Thursday?
A week from this Thursday.
A week from this Thursday. Okay. 10 o'clock in the hall. Book study, conversation, discussion. I have a question. Do we want to have potluck. Next week, it's the last Sunday of the month. I don't know with the masking thing. How do you feel? I mean, we sit over there now, we sit around and drink coffee, take our mask off and drink coffee. But it's up to you folks, I guess. The county would have something to say. Joan, what?
Well, I wasn't thinking about potluck per se, but I did want to, I especially came today because I want everybody to know that I don't feel safe being indoors with people. That I did some research, and not only has the Delta variant gotten, Petaluma 2 months ago was 1 person in the hospital a day, now it's 7. And I know that there's, mostly it's the unvaccinated. But I don't know about you, but I don't even want to get the flu, you know what I mean? It's like, I can get the breakthrough, and so can we all who are vaccinated. But I don't want to go through that.
Okay.
And I don't want to pass it on. And what I've learned is that the Brazilian virus has landed here, and that there's another one probably going to come on it. It's just, the world is very not safe. And the people in this country who are resisting are keeping it going here. And I get complacent because I think I'm safe with the vaccine. It's not true. And so when I get here, I love being here, and I'm going to miss all of you, but I'm not going to come for a while. And I'm going to need somebody to take over the flowers for,
Okay.
till I come back. And I'm waiting for the what do you call it, booster shot, and then see what that's going to bring. But that's where I stand.
Okay.
So just want you to know.
All right. Anybody have other opinions, similar opinions? Kelly?
Well, I can hear what she's saying. I know everyone has to do what they need to do to feel comfortable. And who is you, Joan? Truly. I think it's important that we wear masks, not just on our mouth, but our nose, because the nose is a big area of spread. For all of us, not just for the vaccinated as well.
Okay.
You even get it in your eyes.
Oh, great.
Anyone else? Then probably let's not do potluck. We can do for people who are comfortable having fellowship. That's fine. And if people who aren't, that's fine too. Everybody has their own thoughts and own ideas. And I have a daughter who is bound and determined nobody's going to tell her what she has to do and get vaccinated. And I think to myself, this is America. And in America, we have the God-given right to be just as stupid as we choose to be. And thank goodness it's that way, because this is America, land of freedom. So, at any rate, we will continue fellowship, but dispense with potluck for the present time. And we'll just see what happens. Play it by ear, just like every day of life. Play it by ear and see what happens. Stay in the moment. I will say that we have thought about opening the cabaret back up the last Saturday in October, but right now that's not looking so great. It just, we don't see a lot of improvement in our locale, and so it's still on the schedule tentatively, but probably not going to happen. Maybe till the first of the year, maybe 10 years from now. Maybe we'll just all get those little bubbles and walk around and zip them up and have packs on our backs and things. Who knows? Who knows? Okay, would someone like to kind of take over poking people in the neck with a fork to sign up for flowers? Joan's got that down to a fine art form. Would anybody else like to take over the flower calendar for a while?
September is when it's open again.
September's open?
That's what has to be covered.
Okay. Anybody care to do that? Somebody? Anybody?
I have a couple of weeks to figure it out again.
Okay, we'll just see what happens. And there was one Sunday, maybe it was 8 or 9 years, we didn't have any flowers up there. I thought sure the world was going to end, but it didn't. So that's how it is. Okay, any other announcements? Oh, anything? Okay. David, you know, when you talked in your mini message about our stories and the mindfulness and the awareness that we should have as we tell our stories and listen to others, I think this song that we're about to sing is something we can keep in mind. How could anyone ever tell you you were anything less than beautiful and wonderful and whole? Let's stand and sing that, shall we? We may now greet each other in whatever way we choose to be comfortable. You know, we have a couple, 3 or 4 newer type folks here. And I don't know if I've ever said it to where anyone is aware of it, but we don't pass the basket here at Church of the Oaks like most churches do. We do have a basket, however. It's back in the back. But we do that for a reason, to help us develop a consciousness of abundance and prosperity. And that sharing that abundance and prosperity needs to be a decision, a choice, an intention. And in so doing, that's one of the conduits from spirit to the tangible world that we can open up as we share our gifts of abundance and prosperity. And we have so many different conduits, different facets of abundance in almost every facet of our lives. Let's read together the affirmation of abundance, please. Gratitude is the key to the realization and manifestation of abundance. May we ponder that wisdom for a moment. Thank you, Wayne. As we prepare for the practice, let's sing together, I clothe myself safely round.
Good morning. So I noticed that the quotes at the bottom of today's order of service are all about serving others. And actually seeing that changed what I thought to bring through today for the practice. But maybe they'll weave together. We'll see. It reminded me of a teacher of mine who has, for years and years and years, taught that when we ourselves are in confusion, uncertainty, or even discomfort or overwhelm around our next steps, what our purpose is, what our right action is in any given moment, that a really good question to ask ourselves is, how can I serve? How can I serve? And I spent years asking myself this question as part of her trainings and classes. But it's funny because for the longest time, the only answer I ever got within when I asked that question was, first, take care of yourself. And I mean, years it went on like this. I had asked because I wanted a profession, I wanted a way to work with people, I wanted all of these things, and yet, I was raising a small child mostly on my own, and I just got the answer over and over again: work on yourself, take care of yourself, self-love work. And I just wanted to share that. I think it's important. We spend so much time, important time here, working on and talking about the sacredness of awareness and understanding. But one thing I find myself bringing to this practice over and over is what you might call somatic practices. That is to say, practices that involve our physical being in our spiritual intentions, you could say. And so today, what I was planning to share and what I will still share is a practice that really is designed to weave those together. And you might notice it's similar to others that I've shared recently. But I really think you can't have too many practices like this in this day and age. And it's kind of what you might call a self-soothing practice. It's one that you could do before you ask yourself the question, how can I serve? And maybe journal the answer, what have you. So if everyone would join me right now in just putting your hands over your heart like this, just let them really settle in there, and imagine as you do so almost that you're holding an infant, holding a baby. Let that same quality of gentleness, nurturance, kindness, and care infuse your whole being now. And breathe into your hands there, just letting your rib cage make your hands go up and down as you take a few deep breaths. You can imagine now, as you continue to breathe in this way, what I see is like a vortex of golden light, kind of spiraling above each of our heads. It's this gentle yet powerful, cleansing light. And as you're ready in your own time, you can imagine yourself reaching up into that vortex of light and gently pulling it down so that it covers you a bit at a time until you're standing inside of it. Now we pulled this vortex of light into ourselves from above, but I want to point out it really exists within you. And part of what this practice is doing is it's helping your physical body be able to have more of the light that you are. We can't just flip a switch and make it happen. We have to work with our body's clock, you could say, and bring our body clock and our spirit clock into alignment. All it takes is to have that intention as you're doing this practice. Just really letting go even more into that golden vortex, knowing it is you. letting it get a little bigger, letting yourself merge with it. All the while bringing your attention to this high heart area, breathing into it, letting every facet and layer of your being, your multidimensional self, sync up with this divine intelligence. A few more breaths like that. And so it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Natalie. The message this morning is entitled, I think, Our Partnership with Life. I call it that because each one of us, every human being, when they are born as a human being, they are born into a partnership with all other life. They're part of this every one of us is part of this complex creation of all life, of air, water. All the different beings that exist, coexist on this planet, maybe in the whole universe, but I think I can get my head around this planet. And when we think about that partnership, it doesn't come with an affidavit of what our duties are. I've always said that our purpose in this life is to be the caretakers of this planet, of each other. Because we can do things, we can do all different skills, we can think, we can create, we can imagine. The Dalai Lama for years has said the purpose of a human being is to serve others, to serve the other life on this planet. I want to talk about, first I'm going to say something. I spoke with Natalie about it a little while this morning. When I was in the process of finding a senior facility for my mother, I started working with a lady named Mary Vasco, who worked for the Western Reserve Masonic Village, Masonic community. It's a Masonic home. And at that point in time, they had what they called a financial assistance program. Most people, most of the 400 residents that live at that facility are very wealthy people from Cleveland and Akron. My mother had no money. Mary worked with me for months to get her application for financial assistance approved. And she kept saying, we need to hurry, we need to hurry. And she called me one morning. I used to remember the date, but I know it was a Friday. It was a Friday morning. She said, Pat, I just got the fax. Your mom is approved. Tell her to pack up and get here. She called me again. That was at 9 o'clock in the morning. She called me again at 3 o'clock. She said, you aren't going to believe this. Your mom is in. But Worldwide Masonic Headquarters, just as of 3 p.m., discontinued the financial assistance program for the next 10 years. At 5 o'clock this morning, I got an email from a friend of my mother's who is a resident at that facility. And she informed me that Mary Vasco died on Thursday. She was 63, and she had huge cancer. And I was stricken with grief, but I'm trying to transcend that, transform that grief into gratitude. Her entire adult life, her whole entire working life, she worked for the Masons to assist people in getting into that care facility. She worked there for 36 years. And I can't think of a person who gave more of their life to serve the needs of our senior community than Mary Vasco. And I'm so grateful I got a chance to know her and work with her. I met her father when my mother stopped having her house to move in there. She had a 70-year-old azalea bush. Her father, Mary's father, liked it, so my mother gave it to him. It was in a huge barrel, and I had to carry it up in my truck and get 3 guys to get it off the truck. But it was, Mary's whole thing was about interacting and being in partnership and serving mankind. That's a hard job to serve. I'm very active with the Council on Aging, and I see all these volunteers, more than 400 volunteers, serve in that capacity. And so many of the people who receive those services from Council on Aging have some real problems, are suffering major disparity in one form or another. And those volunteers are there, participating in their partnership with life. And they deal with this disparity. All of us have volunteered for something. We've worked together for fire victims, for the homeless people. We've worked at the shelters. And in each one of those cases, there is disparity as well. And this fulfillment we feel is golden. It's a wonderful feeling, unlike any other. But sometimes that disparity makes it very difficult. And people who do that for a long time, work with people, need to take a break once in a while because it is so intrusive in your gut, in your feelings, in your brains. That's all pretty negative and pretty, I don't know, not warm and fuzzy what I've talked about so far. But now I want to talk about the best thing that I think this church has done in life enrichment. A week ago, Saturday, how many people here participated in the pancake breakfast? Okay. I watched, and everyone who was there was smiling. I don't think anybody except maybe the three chefs really busted a sweat, had to work that hard. Maybe setting up some of the tables or tearing them down. But for the most part, we served our community, and there was nothing but absolute joy. And that joy and that fulfillment, that feeling of participating in this partnership with life was there. Last Saturday was the 19th year we have done that. And I can think over those 19 years, we have done a lot of things in our community, but I can't think of anything that has allowed the people in this community we call Church of the Oaks. I can't think of anything that has allowed us to experience life enrichment by serving others to any higher or more joyous level than participating in feeding the people of this community. Because there was no disparity. There was no horrible, painful stuff involved. It was all joy. It was all about families. We used to have that same kind of joy, sort of, with our crab feed. And it kind of got pretty expensive, became a lot of work, and so we kind of let it go by the wayside. But that too had an experience. Wayne's sitting there grinning. That had an experience of serving our community, participating in this partnership with each other. And when we walked away at the end of Saturday night, we were exhausted, but it was the best kind of exhaustion a person can experience. Because we had, through our serving, brought about joy in our community. What about with that grumpy next door neighbor? Do we participate in a partnership with him? Our homeless people, I'm going to guess that every single one of us have seen a or several homeless persons, and we look and we say, I hope they don't want to walk over here and talk to me. I might like catch fleas or scabies or something, and they're going to probably want money, and I don't have some. Am I the only one that's had that feeling from time to time? I think not. But how many of us can step out of our comfort zone, Step out of that box or throw the box away and just walk up to these people who are experiencing disparity, hard times for whatever reason, and say, hi, how you doing this morning? You are a human being, and we are both in this life together. And is there anything I can do to help you out? And I have done this not as often as I perhaps might have, but I have done this, and I have yet to find anybody greet me or return my greeting with negativity. Ever. In fact, they are usually much more positive, appreciative, outgoing than I am. And then I truly experience my part of the partnership as an ass. Yep. We think about these people having disparity, homeless people, unemployed people. We call ourselves a community, a family. Right here, this room full of people. We all have relationship with each other, caring and love and acceptance of each other. What would happen if this side of the room lost their means of income tomorrow afternoon, got a letter from their bank or their landlords that they had to move at the end of the month, and they had no place to move to or means to pay for a place to move to? And that could happen to any one of us. What if it happened to the people on this side of the room? Would they still be part of our community? Would they be part of our little family? Would we still be in partnership with them? I'm believing that the answer is yes. But serving others, all these quotes are partnership with life in all forms on this planet. When we engage in that, we are engaged in the process of harmony of creation. We are engaged in Spirit's plan, to the best of our knowledge, for life. We are engaged in participating in our purpose for being alive. I think there is nothing that brings more satisfaction, more confidence, opens the door to feel gratitude than serving one another. Sharing our time, our talent, our thought, and our treasure. But serving with our feelings and our love and our acceptance and our respect. That kind of sharing has more value than any amount of money we could donate to any charity. And when we begin to feel this satisfaction, this fulfillment, that is one opportunity, one way that we can continue and be in touch with this, what I call communion with Spirit. When we serve our fellow man and woman and child, there's not exactly a chemical, there is an energy transfer. And when that energy begins, it starts a chain reaction of realization. You begin to have feelings of empathy, compassion, respect, acceptance, gratitude, even forgiveness. And it all stems from participating in this partnership with life. I'd like each of you to ponder this week the different partnerships that you participate in. The partnerships with nature, with our planet, with our environment, with your grumpy neighbors, with your family. What types of experiences do you have? What type of experiences do you create as you participate in this partnership? I think that as we are aware of the fact that we are actually interacting and participating as partners with life, I think that our joy, our satisfaction, all of these wonderful feelings that come with the realization, this is what I was born for. This is why I'm here. This is my purpose. Thank you for allowing me to be in partnership with all of you. It gives me great joy that this is my purpose in participating in this partnership with the lives of this family here at Church of the Oaks. We're going to sing a song called I Would Be True. When we think about our actions and how we interact with each other, I think we, as well as having the gift of having the opportunity to do this, I think we also have a responsibility to share our truth, to share our best. Let's stand now and sing, I Would Be True.